launched the Vietnam War. Saigon, capital of South Vietnam, fell into forces of the Communist North on the 30th of April 1975.
Get him back here if you can. Can you move him? Can you move him? Okay, bring him back here. Remember to stop the bleeding.
The year 1954. Vietnam revamps its country from the French soldiers, ending the Indochina War that started in 1945. However, the stability and growth of their government and economy were still far away. The Vietnam War started in 1954, the same year of the Indochina Cold War's closure. The conflict with the USA in North and South Vietnam caused life of millions and destroyed the chance for Vietnam to stand up and rise again. The journey of Vietnam wasn't easy since 1975, when the Vietnam War ended. The government and the population of Vietnam made it possible for the country to become the 26th largest economy according to their purchasing power parity. The GDP of Vietnam is currently $366.1 billion US. But how did the country revamp and made this possible only within a few decades? And what political and governing decisions have made them progress this much to become a developing country? Let's get into the case study to explore more. The political and economic condition after the Vietnam War. The country needed a stable government first, and the practice of communism and socialism in different parts of the country was an issue in the beginning. To solve the situation, Vietnam was renamed the Socialist Republic of Vietnam in the year 1976, and Hanoi was made its capital. The government focused on industrialization and cultivation to make scope for the local people to work and have the security of food in Vietnam. They took a 5-year development plan and aimed to focus on the basic sectors of the country to make a structural change in Vietnam. Unfortunately, the plan was a complete failure, and Vietnam remained one of the poorest countries in the world during 1980. The lack of resources and the impact of everlasting wars in Vietnam was the reason behind such condition in the country. In 1980, the GDP per capita in Vietnam was $300, and they were entirely dependent on the aid provided by the Soviet Union, and by the year 1982, they were getting aid worth $3 billion. But Moscow was facing pressure to reduce the number of annual aids in Vietnam. The people of Vietnam were undergoing a critical situation. But it was the same year when the country took its first move towards its step of success. The reforming government in 1982. The initial plan of the country did not work, and they were in need of some optimistic leaders during that time. Corruption and exploitation were destroying Vietnam, and all their approach toward development was getting failed. The Communist Party of Vietnam overtook the lead on their 5th National Congress. The party understood that the nation needs some young leaders at that moment, but they only had one person in the party's Central Committee who was aged under 60. Therefore, the next vision of this party was to weed out the elderly leaders and replace them with younger men. 59-year-old Vo Van Kiet was named the head of the State Planning Commission. Similarly, the party appointed young leaders in their foreign ministry and military. However, the 3 most powerful men in the party, Le Duan, Pham Van Dong, and President Truong Chin, showed no sign of stepping down to give their responsibilities to the younger leaders. These 3 powerful personnel had a combined age of 226, and they were struggling with health issues as well. Their rigid mentality and greed for power made it impossible for Vietnam to improve until Le Duan's death in 1986. Simultaneously, Pham Van Dong retired in the year 1987, and Truong Chin got expelled as well. The dominance of 3 powerful people ended. But the condition of Vietnam hasn't changed in a decade. The nation was still struggling to fulfill the basic needs of their people. Contemporary Vietnam and adapting to socialism. The start of contemporary Vietnam began in 1993. The country started to be governed under a socialist government again. During that time, Vietnam started to practice the tentative market model, following China's leader Jiang Zemin, to grow its commerce and industries. The socialist government played a key role in the development of Vietnam. They started to employ their manpower in foreign countries for remittance, and their population also understood the importance of it. China, Japan, Taiwan, and South Korea started to employ workers from Vietnam, and the remittance sent by the workers was a crucial step for the country's initial stage of development. Around 5.34% of Vietnam's GDP in 2001 was acquired from the remittance of foreign workers, and the local people started to become financially capable of investing money in business and commerce. By the year 2005, three-person collective leadership was leading the country, and they were Nguyen Duc Man, who was the most powerful leader of Socialist Republic of Vietnam, Phan Van Khai, an economic genius, and Tran Duc Long, the sixth president of Vietnam. Their primary plan was to implement a socialist-oriented market economy in Vietnam, and to have an improved diplomatic relationship with the European Union, Russia, and America. Through this approach, the government of Vietnam started to get affiliated with European and American investors for their projects, and enticed them from investing in Vietnam. Through the investments, Vietnam established different industries keeping their future development in mind. The agriculture, fishery, and construction industry of the country was developed during that time, and these are currently the highest contributing industries to Vietnam's GDP. Mining of coal, gas, limestone, etc. are also contributing a lot to their GDP, and in the year 2021, a total of 206 trillion dong was contributed by this industry. Another most optimistic industry in Vietnam is the traveling industry. Nearly 3.66 million travelers visited the country in the year 2022, and Vietnam earned a total of 650 trillion dongs just from the travelers. Besides, traveling spots are making many local people initiate new businesses and investments as well. The time wasn't easy for Vietnam since the Vietnam War, and they lost many potential years of growth since that time. However, their plan for young leadership and a socialist economy was the key to improvement and development in the country. Employing manpower in foreign countries and bringing foreign investments helped them to stand up and become a developing country of the world. And following their development of different industries, Vietnam has an aim to becoming a modern, industrial, and upper middle income country by 2030.